Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Michelle is my name. If it's your first time here, hi and welcome. Today I want us to review a foundation that I feel like I accidentally bumped into it. I didn't know that they were actually launching a new foundation. And this is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Weightless Liquid Foundation up to 24-hour wear. That is a very bold claim. And before we get into talking about the foundation, I just wanted to mention something that has happened recently. Maybe not that recent, but it happened on Twitter maybe a week and a half ago or 2 weeks, I'm not really sure. There was a situation about a Kenyan YouTuber. Her name is Nancy Mwai. Nancy Mwai is a YouTuber, a Kenyan YouTuber, and she's a beauty blogger beauty and fashion blogger actually, who recently opened up her store called Shop New Level, I think. I'm not sure if that's the full name, but yeah. And she recently kind of launched a t-shirt, should I say t-shirt line? Oh, t-shirts in her store. And there was an uproar on Twitter about the price of her t-shirts basically. And my friend actually told me about this because I'm not really on Twitter, so I didn't know what had happened. But when I saw a screenshot of some of the comments that were sent to her, and people were talking about this all over, and I was just a little concerned about us as human beings. Okay, so my opinion on this situation is this: if someone is putting out something to you as a consumer and you don't like that thing, I think you have a right to just kind of move on without necessarily bashing, that person or the product or the fact that you don't like it. I think if at all, at any time in your life, anyone is putting out like content or products that you don't agree with or you don't like, you don't have to even talk about it. You can just move on from it and say, you know what, this is not for me. I don't have this amount of money. I don't have patience for maybe watching this type of content. I don't like this, and just move on. I mean, how do I say this? I'm really trying to put this in a way that you will understand, and at the same time, you will see how bad it is to spread negative vibes to people just because you think it's okay to have an opinion. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but think about being a human being. If your opinion doesn't help someone else, is it worth giving it out? Especially if you're going to give it out in a way that is not going to build that person, is not going to help that person, is not going to even, I don't know, in the slightest way encourage them to do better, but more so discourage them. So I just wanted to say today, my take out of this situation is, if you don't like the price of the t-shirts, don't buy it. Walk away from it. But you don't have to say the most. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to say, oh, who do you think you are? The audacity that you have to do this, that, and the other. You really don't have to, especially if it's not going to build the other person. There are nicer ways to give constructive feedback, but if you know in your heart that your feedback is not constructive, I'd say just don't do it. All right, so now let's get into the review of the foundation. So the Urban Decay foundation claims to be flexible, breathable, real skin matte finish, medium buildable coverage, does not transfer, minimizes the appearance of pores, stays true to color, is waterproof, has a vegan formula that does not contain any animal-derived ingredients or byproducts. Now, this is not a first impression. I have actually tried this foundation, and this is how it looks. It comes in a plastic container that doesn't look cheap. It just looks plastic basically, but it's actually really, really pretty. As you can see, it's nice, it's gorgeous, with a gold cap and with a pump as usual. Now, like I said, this is not my first time using this foundation. I have actually worn this foundation on a 14-hour flight, and that was, so a 14-hour flight will translate to like a 16-hour duty time, or maybe 16.5-hour duty time. And before the duty actually started, I put this on maybe 2 hours before. So 18.5 hours wear, and let me tell you, this foundation is amazing. It does what it says. It is flexible. It's very light on the skin. You feel like you're wearing nothing. It is breathable. It has somewhat, it's like they said, they described it as a real skin matte finish. So it's not the kind of matte that dries you out. Like I said, it doesn't look flat. It just looks like matte, but in a very silky kind of way, in a very skin-like way. It is medium buildable coverage. I feel like it has very good coverage, like straight off the bat. I don't typically like heavy foundations in terms of coverage. I don't feel like I have way too much things to cover, so I just put a light layer. So I prefer it to be medium coverage, but it's buildable. It does not transfer. You'll see in the video, I will kind of show you just on my hand, but even now the foundation doesn't really transfer, even though like now I've already set the foundation, so that's different. It is waterproof and it stays true to color. Now I'm in the shade 80 Neutral Neutral. So what Urban Decay did is they came up with kind of like a system where you choose like your original tone and your undertone. Does that make sense? Wait 1 second. So how Urban Decay did this, they came up with a system where you have a master tone, an undertone, and then your shade. Okay, so I'm in the shade deep, in the deep category, and then my master tone would probably be neutral, and then my undertone would be golden. But I didn't really find a foundation that was neutral golden that matched my skin, that wasn't like too light. So I ended up picking up a master tone that's neutral and an undertone that's neutral. Now the goodness of picking up a neutral shade is when you're highlighting and everything, you're able to use a concealer that is more golden, that will kind of even out everything in terms of tones on your face. So that's what I did, and I'll show you the concealers that I used in the video. And yeah, I guess we'll just get straight into the application because I don't feel like there's anything else that I need to say. I did tell you that I wore it for 18.5 hours and it looked really good even towards the end of you know, my flight. So yeah, let's get straight into the application. So as usual, I will first powder my face. Oh my goodness. Just to illuminate the shine. I am in the shade 80 Neutral Neutral, so that's 80 NN, just in case I didn't let you guys know already. And nowadays I've been kind of doing something different in my routine. I've been going in with concealer. This is my Fenty 445. So just going in with a concealer first, and then blending the concealer out, and then going in with a foundation kind of like around the concealer, or sometimes over the concealer depending on how bright it is. And then I also go in with my Too Faced concealer in Chestnut, just a little in this area because we want a highlight. And then if it's too bright, I'll just go over everything with the foundation. Let me just pick up a smaller mirror close to me. So when you're done blending the concealer, it doesn't have to be like perfectly blended, because we'll go back and fix that, and we'll use the foundation on top of it. So as you can see, the foundation is a bit runny. It's not really thick, but it is kind of full coverage. When I tried it the last time, it was full coverage in my opinion. So then I just go around with the foundation like this. I don't know if you guys can see how light it looks. Like, not light in terms of color, but light in terms of weight or texture, if I may say, finish. It just kind of sits and then blends right in. It's not thick. Let me just show you guys how the shade looks on my skin. So I don't know if you guys can see, that's kind of how it looks. I'm not sure how it's showing up on camera. Maybe it looks a little orange, I'm not really sure, but it's very neutral. Especially, look, once I blend it out, it melts right into my skin. I also tried mixing this foundation with like the Huda Beauty foundation that I have in Nutmeg. Yeah, and that one is like a golden foundation. So I tried to mix it because I felt like if you wear this foundation on its own, this shade for me, sometimes your face, because it's neutral, could end up looking really flat. So the Huda one kind of like picks it up a little bit and gives your face more life, if that makes sense. Because neutral sometimes could end up looking very flat. So I felt like it was a little, I mean, it's my tone, but I felt like the undertone, it's my shade, but I felt like the undertone was a little bit too dull or too dead. And I don't want to look casket ready. So yeah, that's how I ended up mixing it. Although today I have not mixed it. This is just the Urban Decay foundation on its own. So after you're done with blending around your face, I take the foundation and then I just go over like the areas where I put the concealer. So just kind of like slightly on the side. I hadn't put any product on my nose yet, no foundation. Oh, I like the smell of this foundation. Oh, I don't know what that smell is, but I like it. I can't really describe it, but it's not like any other foundation I've ever smelled. I actually like this one. And then again, just a little, just go over the edges of the concealer. Now, when I don't want a really bright highlight, I go like all the way up, right? And I just leave the brightness right under my eye in this area. So I take the foundation all the way in till that area. And this just kind of helps you blend the edges of your concealer so you don't have like lines on your face. So as you can see, the finish of the foundation is kind of like satin. It's matte, like it does claim to be matte, but it doesn't really, it's not like a flat type of matte where it's like super matte and like kind of looks dry, but it does set on your face. It actually, I feel like it sets quite quickly, but even if it sets, you still are able to blend it out. So there's not much transfer when I put my my hand on my face. But again, I haven't set with powder, but for, you know, a foundation with not being set with powder, I think that's really good, because sometimes when you do that with any other foundation, it'll pick up and leave like marks on your face. So yeah, so I'll just finish the rest of my face and then I'll tell you guys my final thoughts on this foundation. So this is the final look. This is what I came up with. If you guys want to see the eyeshadow look, just let me know. I did it with a James Charles palette, and I just want to say this, I'm not going to really review the James Charles palette, but I didn't really love it. Like, I don't really enjoy some of the shades are supposed to be blue, but they show up as green. Some of the very bold shades don't really like stick. Even though I used an eyeshadow primer, maybe I need to, I don't know, pick up a different eyeshadow primer. So I'll try it as I go. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because I don't think I'll be actually reviewing the actual palette. As for the foundation, I like it. I think it looks very skin-like, and I think it settles really well on my skin. I love the shade. I think with the shade, maybe, I don't know, I mean, it looks fine, but I think it could definitely get better than this. But for now, I guess it looks fine to work with. With the texture and how light it is, like I said in my intro, it's just really nice and light and just good and comfortable. So I definitely recommend this foundation. All right, so I guess I'll see you guys on my next video. God bless you.